My name is Sarah Bennett, and I'm 38 years old. 6 months ago, I buried my husband and two children alone while my parents attended my sister's birthday party instead. When I called them sobbing, breaking the news that Michael, Emma, and Noah had been killed by a drunk driver, my father's response shattered what remained of my heart. Today is Jessica's birthday. We can't come. Those 7 words ended more than just a phone call. They ended my role as the family doormat. What my family didn't know was that my husband's death would trigger something they never saw coming. The $5 million life insurance policy was just the beginning. The real shock came when they discovered what I'd built from the ashes of my loss, splashed across the front page of our local newspaper. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we begin this difficult journey, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story truly resonates with you. I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now, let me take you back to the morning that changed everything. It was a Tuesday morning in March. Michael had just finished making pancakes shaped like dinosaurs for Noah, our 6-year-old, while Emma, 8, practiced her violin in the living room. I remember kissing them goodbye at 7:45 a.m., Michael's coffee breath mixing with maple syrup as he whispered, "Love you, Sarah. See you tonight for Taco Tuesday." Those were his last words to me. At 8:17 a.m., a semi-truck driver who'd been driving for 16 hours straight ran a red light at the intersection of Maple and 3rd. The police said Michael never had a chance to react. The impact was instant, catastrophic. They told me later that none of them suffered, as if that was supposed to bring comfort. I was in a client meeting when the call came. "Mrs. Bennett, this is Officer Davidson with the state police. There's been an accident." The room tilted. My assistant's voice faded to white noise. Somehow, I made it to the hospital, though I don't remember driving. The corridor to the morgue stretched endlessly, fluorescent lights humming their mechanical sympathy. The identification process is something I won't describe in detail. There are some images that shouldn't live in anyone else's mind. I'll just say this. I had to identify them separately. First Michael, then Emma, then my baby Noah. Each white sheet lifted was another piece of my soul torn away. The officer's words echoed hollow. There was nothing they could have done. The drunk driver had walked away with minor scratches. He'd been arrested at the scene, blood alcohol 3 times the legal limit at 8 in the morning. I called my parents from the hospital parking lot. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the phone. Mom answered on the 3rd ring, laughter in the background. "Mom," I choked out, "they're gone. Michael, Emma, Noah, they're all gone." Silence. Then my father's voice, taking the phone. "What do you mean, gone?" I explained through sobs. The accident, the drunk driver, the morgue, the funeral arrangements I needed to make. His response came calm and measured. "Sarah, today is Jessica's birthday. We've had the country club booked for months. We can't come." But the real nightmare hadn't even begun yet. To understand the full weight of my father's words, you need to know our family dynamic. Growing up, I was the responsible one, the one who never caused problems, never asked for too much. "Good daughters don't keep score, Sarah," my mother would say whenever I pointed out the disparities. When I was 17, I gave up my full scholarship to Northwestern so Jessica could use my college fund for her gap year in Europe. She needed to find herself, my parents said. She found a lot of parties and came back with nothing but Instagram photos and debt. When Mom had her hip surgery 5 years ago, I took 3 months of unpaid leave to care for her. Jessica was too busy with her new boyfriend, the 3rd that year. I slept on a cot in Mom's living room, managing her medications, cooking every meal, driving to every appointment. The day Mom could walk again, Jessica showed up with flowers and got all the credit for being such a devoted daughter. My wedding? Jessica announced her first pregnancy at my reception. My promotion to senior partner? Overshadowed by Jessica's divorce drama. Every milestone in my life became background noise to Jessica's perpetual theater. Michael was the only one who saw it. "They've trained you to disappear, honey. he'd said after one particularly brutal family dinner where I'd cooked for 6 hours only to have Jessica arrive late with takeout because she forgot I was cooking. But they're my family, I'd always respond. Family shouldn't make you feel invisible, he'd say, holding me close. Now Michael was gone. My children were gone. And my parents couldn't interrupt Jessica's birthday party to support me through the worst day of my existence. Good daughters don't keep score, but I'd finally started counting. We can't disappoint her, my father continued, as if I hadn't just told him his grandchildren were dead. You know how Jessica gets when plans change. In the background, I heard my sister's voice. Is that Sarah? Tell her she better not be calling with some crisis today. Robert, please, I begged. I need you. I need Mom. I can't do this alone. You're strong, Sarah. You'll manage. We'll call you tomorrow. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, certain I'd misheard. My hands were still covered in Noah's favorite dinosaur band-aids from where I'd scraped them falling in the hospital parking lot. My children were lying in a morgue, and my parents couldn't be bothered to leave a birthday party. I called back immediately. Mom answered this time. Mom, please. The funeral home needs decisions. I don't know how to bury my babies. Her voice was whisper soft, the way it got when she didn't want to upset my father. Your dad's right, sweetie. Jessica's been planning this for months. All her friends are here. We can't just leave. My children are dead, I screamed into the phone. Several people in the parking lot turned to stare. Don't be dramatic, Sarah. We'll help you next week. The funeral can wait a few days, can't it? The funeral can wait. As if my 6-year-old son and 8-year-old daughter were appointments that could be rescheduled. As if Michael's body wasn't lying on a metal table, waiting for someone who loved him to say goodbye. His next words would haunt me forever. Today is your sister's birthday. We can't disappoint her. 20 minutes later, as I sat in my car trying to breathe, my phone rang. Jessica. Why did you have to call during my party? Her voice was sharp, accusatory. You've completely killed the mood. Mom's upset, Dad's annoyed, and my friends are asking questions. Jessica, I said slowly. Michael is dead. Emma is dead. Noah is dead. I heard. That's terrible, really. But why did you have to ruin my special day with your drama? Couldn't this have waited until tomorrow? Your drama. As if I'd chosen the timing. As if I'd asked that drunk driver to destroy my family on her 35th birthday. Are you coming to the funeral? I asked, my voice hollow. When is it? Friday. Oh, I can't. James and I have concert tickets. They were super expensive. The funeral was held at St. Mary's Cathedral. Michael's colleagues filled one side. His elderly parents, who'd flown in from Seattle despite their health issues, sat in the front row with me. The other side, the side where my family should have been, remained empty. I stood alone between 3 coffins. The smallest one, Noah's, had dinosaurs painted on the side because the funeral director's daughter had heard about his love for them and painted them herself. Emma's had musical notes. Michael's was simple oak, the kind he'd always said he wanted. That night, Jessica posted photos on Facebook from her birthday party. She was laughing, holding champagne, surrounded by friends. The caption read, "Best birthday ever. So grateful for everyone who made today special. #blessed, #birthday girl, Mode 35 and thriving 67 likes. 12 comments about how gorgeous she looked. Not one mention of her dead nephew and niece. Why did you have to ruin my special day with your drama? If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, you know this pain runs deeper than words. Take a moment to leave a comment. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family who took you for granted? Your stories help others know they're not alone. And if this resonates with you, please consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear that their feelings are valid. Now, let me tell you what happened when I finally stopped being the good daughter and started discovering just how much Michael had prepared for this moment, even though neither of us could have imagined it would come so soon. The funeral costs hit immediately. 3 caskets, 3 burial plots, the service. The funeral director's sympathetic smile couldn't soften the $30,000 bill. I sat in his office, staring at the itemized list. The smallest casket was somehow the most expensive. "We offer payment plans," he said gently. Payment plans. As if I'd be paying off my children's deaths like a car loan. Our house was mortgaged to the limit. Michael and I had just renovated the kitchen, thinking we'd have decades of family dinners there. My part-time consulting work barely covered groceries. Michael had been the primary earner, and his income had stopped the moment that truck hit them. His parents offered what they could, but they were on a fixed income. "We have some savings," his mother said, pressing a check into my hand. It was for $5,000, probably everything they had. The life insurance company called while I was choosing flowers for Emma's casket. "Mrs. Bennett, we need to schedule a meeting regarding your husband's policy." "Can't you just mail the paperwork?" "This is a substantial policy, Mrs. Bennett. We prefer to handle these matters in person." Substantial. I assumed that meant enough to cover the funeral costs, maybe a few months of mortgage payments. 2 weeks passed. No word from my family except a text from Mom. "How are you holding up?" I didn't respond. What was there to say? The house felt like a mausoleum. Emma's violin still sat on the music stand. Noah's dinosaurs guarded his unmade bed. Michael's coffee mug waited by the machine, his fingerprints still visible on the handle. The funeral director's message mentioned something about urgent matters regarding payment. I knew I had to face reality, but I couldn't seem to move from Michael's side of the bed, where his scent still lingered on the pillows. Sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard phantom sounds. Emma practicing scales, Noah's feet thundering down the stairs, Michael's off-key singing in the shower. At 3 a.m., I'd walk to their rooms, hoping against logic to find them there. The neighbors started avoiding me, not cruelly, just awkwardly. They didn't know what to say to the woman whose entire family had been erased in 8 seconds. Mrs. Patterson from next door left casseroles on my porch but never knocked. 3 weeks after the funeral, I hadn't heard from my parents. Not one call. Jessica had blocked me on social media after I'd commented on her birthday photos. "These were posted the day you chose a party over your nephew and niece's funeral." I existed in a bubble of grief, invisible to the world. The mailbox filled with sympathy cards from Michael's co-workers, but nothing from my own family. I started wondering if I'd simply cease to exist if I stopped trying. One particularly dark night, I stood on our back deck, looking at the stars. Michael had taught Emma all the constellations. Noah always looked for the dinosaur stars he insisted were there. I thought about how easy it would be to just stop, to join them wherever they were. The lawyer's message saved me. David Chen had called 3 times, his voice increasingly urgent. "Mrs. Bennett, we really need to discuss your husband's estate planning. There are time-sensitive matters that require your attention." Estate planning. Michael had always been meticulous about details. Even in death, he was still trying to take care of me. I called Chen back the next morning. "Can you come to my office today?" he asked. "What I have to tell you shouldn't wait any longer." The lawyer's message mentioned something about urgent matters that would change everything. 2 weeks after the funeral, my phone rang at dinner time. I'd been staring at 4 empty chairs, eating cereal from the box. Mom's name appeared on the screen. "Hi, sweetie. How are you holding up?" The casual tone, as if she'd been checking in regularly, made my chest tight. "How do you think I'm holding up?" "There's no need for that tone. I'm calling to help. Your father and I were thinking you must have financial things to sort out. Did Michael leave anything?" There it was, the real reason for the call. "I'm still working through everything," I said carefully. "Well, family helps family, Sarah. If there's life insurance or anything, you should think about sharing. Jessica and James are trying for a baby, and fertility treatments are expensive." "Are you seriously asking me for money right now?" Don't be selfish, Sarah. Your father thinks you should consider what Michael would have wanted. He was always so generous. I hung up. My hands were shaking, not from grief this time, but from rage. Michael had been generous. He'd lent Jessica $10,000 for her wedding that was never repaid. He'd covered my parents' cruise for their anniversary. He'd never asked for anything back. The phone rang again. Dad this time. I let it go to voicemail. Sarah, your mother's upset. You need to apologize, and we need to discuss the financial situation. As your father, I have a right to know what provisions were made. Call me back. As your father. The father who couldn't leave a birthday party for his grandchildren's funeral now wanted to invoke parental privilege over my finances. I turned off my phone. For the first time since the accident, I felt something other than grief. It was tiny, flickering, but unmistakable. Anger. Clean, clarifying anger. A week later, Jessica showed up at my door without warning. James was with her, his eyes already scanning the visible parts of my house like an appraiser. We were in the neighborhood, Jessica said, pushing past me. She'd never just been in the neighborhood in the 5 years since Michael and I had moved here. Nice place, James commented, running his hand along the granite countertop Michael had installed himself. Must be worth, what, $500,000? Why are you here? I asked. Jessica's face shifted to fake concern. We're worried about you, Sarah. All alone in this big house. It's not healthy. You weren't worried about me 3 weeks ago. That's not fair. We had plans. She walked into the living room, noting the new television, the piano we'd bought for Emma. You know, this is really too much space for one person. What are you suggesting? James stepped forward. We could take it off your hands. Family discount, of course. Maybe $300,000? Cash deal, quick close. The house was worth at least $500,000, even in a quick sale. They both knew it. You need to leave, I said quietly. Don't be ridiculous, Jessica snapped. We're trying to help. You're being selfish, hoarding all this space alone. Get out. Sarah, get out! They left, but not before Jessica delivered her parting shot. Mom and Dad are right about you. You've always been ungrateful. I would never treat family this way. As their car pulled away, I noticed James taking photos of the house with his phone. They were already planning their next move. Jessica's parting words revealed their true plan. They weren't done with me yet. That evening, my father called. His voice had the same tone he'd used when I was a child and had disappointed him. Your sister tells me you were rude to her. She tried to buy my house for $200,000 under market value. Family helps family, Sarah. You need to think about others for once. For once? My voice cracked. I gave up my scholarship for Jessica. I nursed Mom after her surgery. I've been helping others my entire life. No one asked you to do those things. You chose to be a martyr. The word hit like a slap. Martyr. Jessica needs money for IVF, he continued. You have a big house, life insurance coming. You could help. Dad, I just buried my children. That was a month ago, Sarah. It's time to move forward. Jessica's trying to create life. You should support that instead of wallowing. Wallowing. My 6-year-old son was dead, and I was wallowing. If you don't start thinking about family, we'll have to reconsider our relationship with you. What relationship? I asked. You didn't come to the funeral. You haven't called. You haven't even met me for coffee. We have our reasons. You've always been difficult, Sarah. Jessica would never put us in this position. Then go be with Jessica. Are you giving us an ultimatum? No, Dad, I'm done. If you want to cut me off, then do it. There was a long pause. You'll regret this, Sarah. When you're alone with no family, you'll regret pushing us away. I'm already alone. Then so be it. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, waiting to feel devastated. Instead, I felt free. For the first time in my life, I'd chosen myself. The next morning, Attorney David Chen arrived at my door. He was a tall, distinguished man in his 50s, carrying a leather briefcase that looked expensive. Mrs. Bennett, I apologize for the intrusion, but you haven't returned my calls. I'm sorry. I haven't been checking messages. May I come in? What I have to discuss is extremely important. We sat in Michael's office. Chen pulled out a thick folder, his expression serious but kind. Your husband was one of the most prepared clients I've ever had. He updated his will every year, and his life insurance policies are substantial. Policies? Plural? Mrs. Bennett, your husband held multiple life insurance policies totaling $5 million. The room spun. That's impossible. We lived paycheck to paycheck sometimes. He was very specific about keeping this private. He said, and I quote, "My wife sacrifices enough for everyone else. This is for her alone." Chen continued, "There are also specific conditions attached to these policies. Your husband was very particular about certain circumstances." What kind of circumstances? I'll need to review everything with you in detail, but there are provisions regarding family members, charitable giving, and some very specific instructions about distribution. Michael planned all this? Your husband came to me 8 years ago, right after your daughter was born. He said something I'll never forget. My wife's family doesn't value her, but I want to make sure she's protected if anything happens to me. My eyes filled with tears. Even in death, Michael was still protecting me. There's more, Chen said, pulling out another document. But I think you should read this letter from your husband first. He wrote it 2 years ago, with instructions to give it to you if, well, your husband was very specific about certain conditions, Mrs. Bennett. A week later, an email arrived from Global Life Insurance. The CEO, Patricia Williams, requested a personal meeting. This is highly unusual, her email read. But given the circumstances and the size of the policy, I'd like to handle this personally. I Googled her. Patricia Williams was a Forbes 50 most powerful women in business. Why would she want to meet with me personally? At her office, Patricia greeted me warmly. She was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with kind eyes behind designer glasses. Mrs. Bennett, I knew your husband professionally. He consulted for us several years ago on a data security project. I hadn't known that. Michael often took side consulting work, but rarely discussed the details. He impressed everyone here with his thoroughness and foresight. When he purchased his life insurance policies, he insisted on certain unusual provisions. Attorney Chen mentioned conditions. Your husband anticipated potential complications with your family. He built in safeguards to protect you. She pulled out a document. He also recorded a video statement to accompany the policy. Would you like to see it? My heart stopped. A video. Michael's face, his voice. I wasn't sure I was ready. I'll give you privacy, Patricia said, setting up a laptop and leaving the room. Michael appeared on screen, sitting in what looked like Chen's office. He was wearing his favorite blue tie, the one Emma had picked out for Father's Day. Sarah, if you're watching this, it means I'm gone. I'm so sorry, my love, but I need you to know I've prepared everything. Your family can't touch this. It's all for you. Use it to build something beautiful from this pain. Mr. Bennett was one of our most prepared clients, Mrs. Bennett. His foresight was extraordinary. Sometimes the people who should support us most become our greatest source of pain. But what if I told you that my husband, even in death, had prepared something that would change everything? If you're curious about what happened next, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. And please share in the comments. Have you ever discovered that someone was protecting you in ways you never knew? Your story might help someone realize they're valued more than they know. Let's continue with the day everything shifted and my family learned exactly what they had thrown away. 2 months had passed since the funeral when I ran into Jessica at Whole Foods. I was buying Emma's favorite cereal. Somehow I still couldn't stop when I heard her voice behind me. Oh my God, everyone, this is my sister I was telling you about. She was with 3 friends, all holding wine bottles for what looked like a day drinking session. Jessica's voice carried across the store. The one whose husband died and left her everything while the rest of us struggle. People turned to stare. A mother pulled her children closer, as if tragedy was contagious. It's so sad, Jessica continued, her voice dripping fake sympathy. She's hoarding millions while her own sister can't afford IVF. Can you imagine being that selfish? Jessica, stop, I said quietly. Oh, she speaks. Everyone, Sarah got $5 million in life insurance. $5 million. And she won't help her own family. The store had gone silent. Everyone was watching. An employee was recording on his phone. My poor parents are heartbroken. They raised her better than this. The parents who skipped the funeral? I asked, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. Jessica's face reddened. That's a lie. Tell them the truth, Sarah. The truth? The truth is you posted birthday party photos while I buried my children alone. You're delusional with grief, Jessica announced to the growing crowd. This is why we're considering having her evaluated. The store manager approached with security. Ma'am, I need you both to— I'm leaving, I said, abandoning my cart. As I walked past, Jessica grabbed my arm. This isn't over. Mom and Dad know lawyers too. The store manager approached with security, but the damage was already done. 3 days later, I received a text from Mom. Family meeting. Our house. 2 p.m. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I arrived to find 20 relatives packed into my parents' living room. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years. Even my father's brother from Florida was there. This is an intervention, my Aunt Linda announced. She was holding what looked like prepared notes. An intervention for what? Your mental state, dear, Mom said. Grief has clearly affected your judgment. A woman I didn't recognize stood up. I'm Dr. Foster, a family counseling specialist. Your family is concerned about your emotional instability and inability to make sound financial decisions. You hired a therapist to ambush me? It's not an ambush, Dad said. It's love. We're trying to help you see reason. Jessica sat in the corner, tissue in hand, performing grief she'd never shown for my children. Sarah, Dr. Foster said, your family feels you're not processing your loss appropriately, holding on to resources that could help create new life. You mean Jessica's IVF? Suggests an unhealthy attachment to the past. My cousin Mark chimed in. We all think you should put the money in a family trust, for everyone's benefit. Including yours, Mark? He had the decency to look away. This is about money, I said, standing. My children are dead, and you're all here for money. Sit down, Sarah, my father commanded. No. If you leave, we'll have no choice but to pursue legal options, Aunt Linda said. For your own good. Grief has clearly affected your judgment, dear, Mom said, but I was already walking to the door. That night, Jessica's Facebook post went viral in our community. Prayers needed. My sister Sarah, the one who lost her family in that terrible accident, is having a mental breakdown. She's inherited millions, but won't help anyone, not even our elderly parents. She's accused us of terrible things and cut off all contact. If you see her, please be kind. Mental illness is so tragic. Pray for Sarah. #mental health awareness. #family first. Within hours, it had 500 shares. Comments poured in. So sad when grief breaks someone. Your poor parents. Money changes people. Maybe she needs professional help? My phone exploded with messages from mutual acquaintances offering support while fishing for details. The local grief support group leader called to say I was temporarily suspended pending resolution of concerns. But then something unexpected happened. Michael's best friend Tom commented, "This is lies. Sarah's family skipped the funeral for your birthday party. I was there. I saw the empty seats. Delete this post or I'll share the funeral guest book." Jessica deleted his comment within minutes, but screenshots were already circulating. Michael's former colleague added, "I delivered food to Sarah while you were posting party pics. Stop this." Then Michael's mother, sweet 70-year-old Dorothy, posted her own response. "Jessica Walker, you are a liar. I flew from Seattle with 2 hip replacements to bury my son and grandchildren. You were not there. Your parents were not there. Sarah stood alone. I have photos. The tide began to turn, but Jessica had one more card to play. She posted a final update. Some people's true colors show when money enters the picture. I'm done trying to help someone who doesn't want it. Boundaries, hashtag toxic family. Some people's true colors show when money enters the picture. She was right about that. The meeting with Patricia Williams changed everything. She sat across from me in her corner office, $5 million in insurance documentation spread between us. This is real? I kept asking. Very real. Your husband purchased these policies incrementally over 8 years, paying monthly to avoid detection. He never wanted your family to know. The first policy was for $2 million, purchased when Emma was born. The second, for another $2 million when Noah arrived. The third, for $1 million, was bought 2 years ago after what Michael's notes called the Christmas incident. He kept detailed records, Patricia explained. Every interaction with your family that concerned him. He was building a case for why this money needed protection. She played another portion of Michael's video. Sarah, I know you'll want to share this with everyone. It's who you are. But please, my love, don't. Your family has taken enough from you. This money is for you to build something beautiful. Create something that would make the kids proud. Through tears, I made a decision. I want to create a foundation, the Bennett Family Foundation, for children who've lost parents to drunk driving. Patricia smiled. Your husband predicted you'd say that. He left suggestions. 6 months of quiet building followed. I worked with attorney Chen to establish the foundation, using $3 million as the initial funding. The remaining $2 million stayed in conservative investments for my future. I personally reviewed every application. The first scholarship went to a little girl named Amy, the same age Emma would have been, who'd lost both parents to a drunk driver. Her grandmother cried when I called with the news. By month 5, we'd helped over 100 families. Funeral costs, therapy, education funds, all the things I'd needed when my world collapsed. I kept it quiet, working under the radar. No social media announcements, no press releases, just quiet, meaningful work that gave me purpose. Your husband said you'd know what to do with this, Mrs. Bennett. He was right. The Bennett Family Foundation grew faster than I'd imagined. Attorney Chen connected me with other philanthropists who'd lost children. We partnered with Maydeed, establishing grief counseling programs specifically for young siblings of drunk driving victims. This is remarkable, Chen said during one of our meetings. You've helped more families in 6 months than most foundations do in years. It's what Michael would have wanted, what Emma and Noah would have wanted. We funded a music therapy program in Emma's name. She'd loved her violin, and now other grieving children could find solace in music. Noah's dinosaur library sent books to children who'd lost siblings, because stories had always comforted him during tough times. I hired 2 employees, both mothers who'd lost children to drunk drivers. We understood each other without words. Our office became a sanctuary of shared grief transformed into purpose. Local hospitals began referring families to us. Police departments kept our cards to give at accident scenes. One officer told me, "You're saving lives, Mrs. Bennett. These families have hope because of you." The foundation's bank account grew through unexpected donations. Michael's company contributed $100,000 in his memory. His parents, despite their modest means, sent monthly checks with notes for our grandchildren's legacy. But I kept it all quiet. No fanfare, no recognition. I wasn't ready for my family to know. This was sacred work, untainted by their greed. Then a reporter called. "Mrs. Bennett, I'm doing a story on local heroes. Your foundation has helped over 500 families. The community needs to know about this." I prefer to stay anonymous. I understand, but your story could inspire others. Think of the families you could reach. I thought of all the parents standing where I'd stood, alone and broken. Maybe it was time. One interview, I agreed, but focus on the foundation, not me. This foundation will be their legacy, Mr. Chen. Their love lives on through every family we help. The morning the article published, I was at the cemetery placing fresh flowers on their graves. My phone stayed silent in my car. I wanted this moment of peace before the world intruded. The headline read, "Local Widow Transforms Tragedy into Hope. The Bennett Family Foundation has helped 500 families heal." The article featured a photo from our recent fundraising gala. I stood surrounded by families we'd helped, all of us wearing pins with Emma and Noah's pictures. The reporter had done her research, detailing not just the foundation's work, but the story behind it: the drunk driver, the 3 coffins, the woman who stood alone at the funeral and chose to transform her pain into purpose. She'd interviewed families we'd helped. Amy's grandmother was quoted, "Sarah Bennett saved us. When everyone else saw just another tragedy, she saw a little girl who needed hope." The final paragraph mentioned the $5 million insurance policy that funded it all, calling me Entrepreneur of Heart, and announcing I'd been named Philanthropist of the Year by the State Charity Commission. By 8 a.m., my phone was exploding. 47 missed calls from Dad. 83 text messages from Jessica. Mom had left 12 voicemails. The first text from Jessica: "OMG, Sarah, why didn't you tell us?" The second: "We're so proud of you." The third: "Call me immediately." The fourth through 80th: variations of demands, guilt, and sudden affection. Dad's voicemail: "Sarah, this is your father. We need to discuss the foundation immediately. As your family, we should be on the board. Call me back." Mom's messages grew increasingly frantic. "Sweetie, the neighbors are all talking about the article. Why didn't you tell us? We could have helped. We're your parents." Then came the Facebook posts. Jessica shared the article with a lengthy caption about her amazing sister and how our family always supports each other. Local widow transforms tragedy into hope for hundreds, and her family just found out. Within hours, my parents were at my door. I watched through the security camera as they rang the bell repeatedly. "Sarah, we know you're home," Dad shouted. "Open this door." Mom was crying, performance tears I'd seen before. "Please, sweetie, we're so proud of you. We always knew you'd do something wonderful." I didn't answer. Jessica arrived 20 minutes later with James. They'd brought flowers, grocery store carnations with the price tag still on. "Sarah," Jessica called out, "this is ridiculous. We're family. The foundation needs us." My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, came out. "She's not home, and after what you all did, I'd stay away if I were you." "What we did?" Jessica's voice went shrill. "We're her family." "Family doesn't skip funerals for birthday parties," Mrs. Patterson shot back. She'd been there. She'd seen everything. They camped out for 3 hours. Dad called the police, claiming I was having a mental health crisis. Officer Davidson arrived, the same officer who'd delivered the news about the accident. "Mr. Walker, your daughter is under no obligation to open her door. Please leave the property." "We're worried about her mental state," Mom insisted. "I spoke with Mrs. Bennett yesterday about foundation security. She seemed perfectly sound. Now you need to leave or I'll charge you with trespassing." They left, but not before Jessica shouted loud enough for the entire neighborhood to hear. "We always knew you'd do great things, sweetie. We're here when you're ready to share your success with family." The next morning, a formal letter arrived from their lawyer. They were requesting a family meeting to discuss their rightful involvement in the foundation. "We always knew you'd do great things, sweetie," after they'd called me selfish for not sharing. Attorney Chen's office had never felt more like a sanctuary. The conference room was full: my parents, Jessica and James, their lawyer, Chen, and me. "Thank you all for coming," Chen began. "Mr. Bennett anticipated this gathering." "What do you mean, anticipated?" Dad demanded. Chen pulled out a sealed envelope. "Mr. Bennett left specific instructions to be opened if certain conditions were met. The publication of the article and your presence here fulfill those conditions." He opened the envelope and began reading Michael's letter. To the Walker family. If you're hearing this, it means you've discovered Sarah's inheritance and are attempting to claim a portion. Let me be clear, you have no legal or moral right to any of it. Mom gasped. Jessica's face went red. I documented every instance of your treatment of my wife. The birthday parties you prioritized over her achievements, the money you borrowed and never repaid, the emotional manipulation disguised as family obligation. Chen pulled out a folder. Mr. Bennett hired a private investigator to document your behavior. We have everything. This is ridiculous, Jessica shouted. Chen continued reading. If you abandoned Sarah during the funeral, which I suspect you did, you've forfeited any claim to sympathy or support. The Foundation's bylaws specifically exclude anyone who failed to attend the funeral of Emma, Noah, and myself. How could he know? Dad started. There's more, Chen interrupted. He pressed play on a laptop. The funeral appeared on screen. The camera panned across the empty family section, zooming in on the 3 small nameplates. Reserved for Robert Walker, reserved for Linda Walker, reserved for Jessica Walker Morrison. The timestamp showed the exact time. The empty seats spoke louder than any accusation. Thank you all for coming. Mr. Bennett anticipated this gathering. Michael's face appeared on the screen. My breath caught. He was wearing the shirt Emma had picked for his birthday, sitting in what looked like Chen's office. Hello, Robert, Linda, and Jessica. If you're watching this, you've proven exactly who I always knew you were. Jessica tried to speak, but Chen raised his hand for silence. I've watched you diminish Sarah for 15 years. I've documented every slight, every manipulation, every time you made her feel worthless. She never saw it. She loved you too much, but I saw everything. Michael held up documents. These are receipts. The $10,000 you borrowed for Jessica's wedding and never repaid. The $5,000 for Robert's business venture that failed. The vacation we funded for your anniversary. Total, $37,000 over 8 years. Dad's face had gone pale. But here's what matters. I had our entire funeral filmed professionally. Multiple angles. If you weren't there, and I'm betting you weren't, it's all documented. Time-stamped, indisputable. The video switched to funeral footage. The priest's voice echoed. We gather to remember Michael, Emma, and Noah Bennett. The camera captured every empty seat, every absent family member. Sarah, Michael's voice continued, if your family is hearing this, it means they've come for the money. Don't give them a penny. They had their chance to be family when you needed them most. Then came the killing blow. To the Walkers, every major charity in the state has been notified of your behavior. The documentation has been shared with the Foundation Board. Any attempt to claim connection to the Bennett Family Foundation will result in immediate public release of this video. Jessica was crying now. Real tears for once. But that wasn't the only surprise, Chen said, pulling out another document. The Whole Foods video went viral within days. Someone had edited it with Jessica's birthday party photos, creating a split screen of her celebrating while the funeral timestamp ran below. The caption read, "This woman partied while her sister buried 2 children. Now she wants the inheritance money." Jessica's marketing firm fired her within a week. The official statement cited values misalignment. But everyone knew the truth. Her clients had seen the video. James's business partners pulled out of their joint venture. We can't be associated with this, one told him publicly on LinkedIn. His reputation in the community was destroyed. Dad's position on the church board ended abruptly. The pastor called him personally. Robert, the congregation has lost faith in your moral leadership. The same church where he'd preached about family values for 20 years. Mom's charity circle excluded her from the annual gala. The invitation was rescinded with a terse note. Given recent revelations, your presence would be inappropriate. Her social standing, carefully cultivated over decades, crumbled overnight. Their neighbors stopped speaking to them. The country club revoked their membership. Even their extended family distanced themselves. We had no idea, my aunt posted on Facebook. If we'd known they skipped the funeral, we never would have participated in that intervention. The local news picked up the story. Family Greed Exposed: How One Woman's Tragedy Revealed Her Family's True Nature. They interviewed Mrs. Patterson, Tom, and 3 families our foundation had helped. But the most damaging blow came from Jessica's own friend who'd been at Whole Foods. She posted, "I was there. Jessica was laughing about her sister's grief. It was disgusting. I'm ashamed I ever called her a friend." Karma doesn't always come quickly, but it always comes. I refused every interview request. When reporters called, I simply said, "The foundation's work speaks for itself." No comments about my family, no public statements about the drama, just dignified silence. The foundation continued growing. We expanded to 3 more states, helping thousands of families. Every dollar was accounted for, every family vetted, every story honored. At Christmas, I sent my parents and Jessica cards. Simple, elegant, with no money enclosed, just a printed note. "Wishing you peace this holiday season. A donation has been made to the Bennett Family Foundation in your name." The donation receipts showed $100 each, enough to be legitimate, not enough to be generous. It was listed publicly in our annual report under Community Supporters, their names among hundreds of others, given no special recognition. Mom tried to call 37 times on Christmas Day. I didn't answer. 3 months later, I learned through Mrs. Patterson that Jessica was pregnant. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of happiness for the life growing inside her. Children were innocent of their parents' choices. I set up an anonymous college fund for the baby, $50,000, to be accessible only for education, only after age 18. The paperwork went through Chen's office with strict instructions for anonymity until the child's 18th birthday. "Why?" Chen asked. "After everything they did?" "Because Emma and Noah would want their cousin to have a chance. Because Michael always said the best revenge is grace. Because I refuse to let their cruelty change who I am." The foundation's annual gala was attended by the governor, 3 senators, and hundreds of families we'd helped. My parents and Jessica watched from outside, unable to afford tickets, unwelcome even if they could. The best revenge is living well and helping others do the same. 1 year after the accident, I stood at their graves with an armful of accomplishments. The foundation's annual report, showing 1,000 families helped. Photos from the children whose lives we'd changed. Letters from parents who'd found hope in their darkest moments. "We did it, Michael," I whispered to his headstone. "Your plan worked perfectly." I told Emma about the music program, how a little boy named David had played his first concert using the violin we'd donated. I told Noah about the library, how his dinosaur books had helped a girl named Lucy smile for the first time after losing her brother. "Your daddy was so smart," I said, arranging fresh flowers. "He knew exactly what would happen. He protected us even after he was gone." The cemetery was peaceful, just me and them, the way it had been at the funeral. But now the solitude felt different, chosen rather than forced. I'd bought a smaller house 2 streets from the cemetery. Every morning I walked here with coffee, telling them about the foundation's work. The old house sold for $550,000. Every penny went to the foundation and to my support group for grieving parents met weekly in our foundation building. We'd created a community of understanding, of shared pain transformed into collective strength. These strangers had become my family in ways blood never could. "Your Aunt Jessica had her baby," I told them. "A little girl named Sophia. She'll have a college fund waiting for her, though your grandparents will never know it's from us." A letter had arrived from Jessica that morning, forwarded through Chen's office. 6 pages of apologies and justifications. I'd read it once, then filed it away. Some bridges, once burned, should stay that way. But their light can still guide others home. Jessica's letter was water-stained, the ink smudged in places from what looked like tears. "Sarah, I know I have no right to write this. I was horrible, unforgivable. I see that now. Sophia looks like Emma sometimes, and it breaks my heart that she'll never know her cousins. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just needed you to know that I finally understand what we took from you. Not the money, the moments, the support, the love you deserved when your world ended. I'm sorry. I'm so desperately sorry. I read it twice, then wrote my response on foundation letterhead. Jessica, I received your letter. Thank you for your honesty. I forgive you, not for your sake but for mine. Carrying anger is too heavy when you're already carrying grief. However, forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. Some wounds cut too deep to heal with words. You chose a birthday party over my children's funeral. That choice defined our relationship permanently. I wish you well with Sophia. She's innocent in all of this. Love her the way you couldn't love Emma and Noah. Be present for her in ways you weren't for them. This is the last communication between us. Please respect this boundary. Sarah. I included a photo of Emma and Noah from their last Christmas, their faces bright with joy. On the back I wrote, "For Sophia, so she knows they existed." Chen mailed it that afternoon. "No return communication will be accepted," he assured me. That evening, I updated the Foundation's board with our new policy. No position shall be offered to individuals who failed to support founding families during their time of loss. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Some bridges, once burned, should stay that way. 2 years have passed since the accident. The Bennett Family Foundation has helped over 2,000 families. We've expanded nationally, with chapters in 12 states. The children we've helped have started calling themselves Bennett Bears. Emma would have loved that. I've learned that family isn't about blood, it's about showing up. My real family now includes Tom and his wife, who never missed a grief counseling session with me. Mrs. Patterson, who still brings casseroles but now stays to eat them with me. Michael's parents, who video call every Sunday to hear about the Foundation's work. The private investigator Michael hired sent me one final report. My parents sold their house and moved to a small apartment. Jessica and James divorced after the financial pressure broke them. She's raising Sophia alone, working 2 jobs. The college fund I set up continues to grow, waiting for a little girl who will someday have chances her mother denied herself through cruelty. Some people are lessons, not blessings. My parents taught me that love shouldn't come with conditions. Jessica taught me that shared DNA doesn't guarantee loyalty. Their abandonment taught me that sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. But Michael, Emma, and Noah, they taught me that real love transcends death. That preparation is an act of love. That legacy isn't about money, it's about impact. Every morning I visit their graves. Every evening I read applications from families needing help. In between, I live. Not just survive, live. Because that's what they would want. What boundaries have you set with toxic family? Your story might help someone else find their strength. Share it below. Remember, you deserve to be valued, respected, and prioritized, especially by those who claim to love you. Thank you for joining me on this difficult but necessary journey. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more stories about resilience and setting healthy boundaries. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to choose peace over toxic relationships, even with family. Comment below with your own experiences of setting boundaries. Your courage might inspire someone else to reclaim their life. Remember, you deserve to be valued, respected, and prioritized. Blood doesn't obligate you to accept disrespect. Until next time, take care of yourselves and honor your worth.